And the main talking point, Grimomania worthy match. People may say it's Roman and Cody. People say it may be like Triple H and Daniel Bryan. Grim versus Rad Dad Radley Belmont. I think for certain Grimomania worthy match. Ugh, it's hard to say. Hmm, I don't know. It's hard to say because they're both they're both like veterans. The stepdads have been around the indie scene in the Northeast, so it's hard to say. But I don't think I need to make my decision here. Radley can't lose. Huh. I feel you, Optimal Neo. You know, I maybe he might not lose. So you know what? Let's ask the man himself. Introducing the longest reigning former GTS Intercontinental Champion, former GTS United States Champion, former Workhouse double crown, former step one half of the stepdads, and the man who will not let you mess with the thermostat, Rad Dad, Radley Belmont.
Right there we go. Yeah. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you, Rad Dad?
I'm fantastic. I have to clarify right up front that even though I am a single star in GTS, the stepdads are still alive and well. No former stepdads. We're still out there
I
kicking
didn't.
butt. I just
I
want to
don't
make
think
sure
I
that's known.
said former stepdad. I said former intercontinental. That's what I
Okay.
meant.
All right. That's right.
Like I blended that because you were the workhorse double crown.
Yes. So 3 times the Intercontinental Champion, 1 time the US Champion, and the only man in GTS history to defend the Intercontinental and US title simultaneously. Nobody else in the history of GTS has done that. I'm very honored and blessed to be the one to do that as the Workhorse Double Crown Champion.
Yeah, and you're not to mention you're the longest reigning intercontinental champion. That's
Yes.
a feat in itself. One of the possibly the longest reigns in GTS history.
It
And
was not easy. Absolutely.
what
No, not only the longest reign for one reign, but the longest combined reigns as well. I beat do up at both those records. I was able to beat both of them eventually. And I like the sound of that. Radley can't lose. I haven't been losing much since I come to GTS. I think I've been the champion most of the time. We're gonna keep that going.
Yeah, honestly, that you have a tough battle at Clash of the White Castle
Mm-hmm.
against Grim. Even though he's like in a lot of stuff with Lacey and stuff that I know
Yes,
we're not going to get into,
a
but
lot of
you know
distraction.
that's the full focus is that GTS Legendary YouTube Championship
Mm-hmm.
where you could possibly quote finish that story. I had to because that's like overused. That was like overused at WrestleMania this year. That's like you'll finish the story, or it's like I feel like it will just be like riots. People would
Oh yeah.
if Cody was not going to win. But in this scenario, I feel like in this situation, it could be that worthy of that.
I,
But
I remember maybe 10 years ago, everything was Bullet Club and this club and that club and club this
yeah,
and club Villa and all this stuff. Now it's
yeah,
stories. Everyone's trying to finish their story. That's why when Grim said that to me, he said, "You're the Cody Rhodes on GTS a couple weeks ago." I said, "Well, if I'm the stepdad, then I'm going to finish the bedtime story by bringing the belt home to the kids and reading the book of Radley Belmont, how their dad finally did it and reached the mountaintop." That's the bedtime story.
yeah. Um, a couple like about almost 2 years ago, you
Mm.
debuted on GTS Wrestling. I think late
Yes.
2022 when you and Papa Bear Wade Kruger stepped in that ring in a tag match. How did it feel? The type of atmosphere that GTS was presenting.
That's a great question. So, obviously, as you know, I've had a history as an independent wrestler for, geez, I don't know, what, 9 years now, something like that. I lost track. 2016, January 10th, 2016 is when I became a pro wrestler. So I've traveled all over the Northeast, New England. I've gone from Boston to Philly and back. But before that, I was a simple backyard wrestler. And not only did I just wrestle in backyards, I wrestled in backyards across the country. I wrestled in Chicago. I wrestled in Las Vegas. I wrestled in Salt Lake City. Allentown, Pennsylvania to Cooperstown, New York. So all these random wild venues that now with COVID and things like that, we've seen outdoor venues. We've seen venues with maybe 5 fans there. It doesn't mean the show sucks. It just means, we have COVID restrictions, or maybe it's a hard to get to place. There's a million reasons. There's a million reasons. Bad weather, tons of stuff. So when I went to GTS, it reminded me of those events where I was around really people that would become big names later. But at the time, we were all just guys having fun, showing the passion that we had for wrestling. And we were kind of too young to just get into training, or some of us were training, that kind of thing. Seeing GTS in that atmosphere. And I feel like that is something that is misinterpreted about GTS, is that it's not in a backyard because it's a bunch of like idiots doing idiotic things, or it's unsafe, or whatever you want to say. It's a style. It's an atmosphere. They want things to be back. They want to give you that childhood vibe of when you were a kid playing in your backyard. It's Grimm's toy show. Here's the secret. I'm going to let you in a little secret. It's Grimm's toy show. The wrestlers are like his toys. He's booking us as if, as you would at home, saying, I want to see Rad Dad wrestle Millie, or I want to see Vlad take on Shamar. And then you just bought the action figures together, which pretty much was Vlad versus Shamar. It was just a bunch of this. But that's what Grimm's Toy Show is all about, and that's what I appreciate about that style of wrestling. It's different from any other wrestling in the world. It sometimes we've had shows with a live audience. I'm sure you've seen footage of that. Other times the wrestlers surrounding the ring are the audience, and you think, is that cheap? No, it's interesting storytelling, because with every time someone hits a move, you get to see what the entire roster, one by one, is thinking and feeling and how they're reacting. You're getting so much story. It's so much more than just the 10 minutes you see from your local indie company. You see every single wrestler for the entire show, and it's clipped because it's a vlog, but you get to see the raw emotions from these wrestlers in real time. That's so unique. And that's the kind of stuff I love about GTS. It's spur of the moment. It's Jerry Springer. It's Crash TV. It's Attitude Era. And that, ironically enough, it works very well for me, even though in a lot of ways it's the opposite of me. I'm all about rules. I'm about honor and traditional wrestling. But being in that atmosphere and clashing with it like I do, it's a perfect match. That's why something as wild as Grimm's Toy Show, Grimm being this crazy champion right now, trying to do whatever he can to keep the belt. I just want to wrestle. I just want to show that I am or I'm not the man. I'm not even saying I am the man. I'm saying if I get that shot, then we'll find out. And that's what I'm most curious about. And I think a lot of the step fans, and I call them step fans because they used to be Grimm's fans, and now I've adopted them. They're step fans, and they agree. They want to know who is the best. That's why I'm very excited about Clash at White Castle. I'm sure we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. And here's the question. We brought briefly up the stepdads.
Mm-hmm.
You and Papa Bear, Wade Kruger, have been a tag team for several years.
Oh yeah.
And since the beginning of your career, near the early parts of your career, what was the inspiration behind the name the Stepdads?
It's very funny you ask, because the Stepdads originally started as just the name of a fantasy football team. So before we were the men you see today, we were just some kids doing our backyard wrestling stuff. And the whole joke was that Wade Kruger had a fantasy football league. Everyone had a different name for their part of the league. And his was the Stepdads, because, you ready? We beat you and you hate us. Yeah. Now you get canceled for saying stuff like that. But that was the joke 12, 13 years ago. Even to the point where when we were doing our backyard wrestling, he and his friends would call themselves the Stepdads. And I was often an opponent of the Stepdads, weirdly enough. So I got to wrestle Wade all the time. And in doing so, we became really good friends. At the time, I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. He lived out in New Jersey, which is where I am now. And just having those matches, me traveling out there, I'm traveling there for shows, we became very good friends. And by the time I was in the pros, he started to be in the pros. I said, hey, let's make this a reality. Let's actually be the Stepdads. And I think it's been very successful. We've had a lot of great times, a lot of great matches. And even when we're on our own, like I am at GTS right now, he's his own stepdad and I'm my own. We're not clones. We're not two of the same persona, if you want to think of it that way. I am me and he's him, and we're very authentic to who we are. We just like to label ourselves stepdads because you get it. You see me, my corny jokes and the way I dress, and you hear the word stepdad and you go, I got it. I get him. I understand him. And that's why we use it.
And I understand the gag with not messing with the thermostat.
Oh yeah, believe me. I have it right back there. Nobody's touched it all day. I'm telling you. I'm making sure it's in my camera view. It's not going anywhere. I have eyes and ears everywhere in this house, so don't worry about that.
Not even Grim.
No, especially not Grim. Unless Grim's gonna pay for the electric bill, all right, or maybe pay a little rent if he wants to stop by. He's not touching that thermostat.
So, the last couple of episodes of GTS, you've been nagging an injury to your ankle. How's like that rehab feeling with you?
So I don't want to get up right now, but it is wrapped up. It's obviously it's improving. I'm not gonna sit here and go, I'm gonna be invincible at Clash of White Castle, but I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be a pushover either. There's a real question mark in the match because of this ankle injury, and I am cleared to wrestle. I want everyone to know that, because last week I didn't wrestle. Obviously, people saw I was hobbling around. I didn't wrestle. This week I am cleared. I will be wrestling at Clash of the White Castle. I was very open about the fact that I believe that we need to know if one guy's better than the other on that day, right? That's what I always say. And when it came to Shamar was the better man that day. 100% Shamar was better than a 50% Radley Belmont on one leg. I can't take that away from him. That's why he's the GTS world champion. But what about today? What about tomorrow? And I'm not wrestling Shamar today or tomorrow, but I am going to wrestle Grim soon. And the more I heal up, the more I ice this, as much as I do have to continue to walk on it for work around the house and things like that, it is improving. And I don't want anyone to lose hope on me, because look at Daniel Bryan. That guy was taped up like a freaking mummy when he won the championship at WrestleMania. It's just another obstacle, another in the million obstacles that Grim's had against me. And I'm sure that, I'm not entirely sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Grim agreed to this match because of my ankle injury. But I have a little ace up my sleeve with a special guest referee. So everything's a toss-up right now, and I would love for it to just be one-on-one. We'll see what happens. But I no matter what comes, I'm not going to just blame this ankle on a loss. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go in full force.
Yeah, and we'll find out who that special guest referee is at Clash of the White Castle.
Yes. I'm sorry, Kyle. I cannot reveal the secret, because you never know. Grim might be watching, or he'll have Duhop watch someone else. So I never saw the footage. He'll have someone else tell him what I'm saying here tonight. So mum's the word, but you will be surprised.
The best kept secret, quoting Buddy Matthews.
Exactly.
So I was getting to my next question, but Optimal Mayo asked a question. Said, when are the Stepdads coming down to work in East Texas?
So ironically enough, Papa Bear Wade Kruger has technically won a championship in Texas. He won the Wrestle Circus Sideshow Championship, which was a 24/7 title. But he wasn't in Texas when he won it. So I can't say like, oh, we've been to Texas. But weirdly enough, he's won a title in Texas. That's how pro wrestling works. I don't know. But I am always open to wrestling anywhere that will take us in. If they have a plane ticket for us, we are there. And that's why we've been able to do all these great things, wrestling in Delaware, wrestling in Chicago, wrestling all over the place. Most of those were long drives or flights. I've had to be on many a plane with a championship where I go through the metal detector and they go, why do you have a shield in your basket or whatever? And I go, no, it's my belt. And I show them. And then, of course, security wants to take photos with the belt and stuff. And I have to sit there and be like, okay, I gotta go, you know. So if Texas will have us, we'll be there. They say everything's bigger in Texas. We're going to find out one day. But until then, we're going to stick around here in New Jersey in the Northeast area. Just for now, though.
Yeah, Optimal Mayo. There's a saying, never say never.
Exactly.
And now we go back into you had the honor of facing a lot of different tag teams all in the Northeast, where you and Papa Bear have been wrestling. When you were wrestling, like you mentioned, you were a backyard wrestler before you were actually a pro wrestler.
That's right.
Who was the man that basically helped evolve you into what you are today, and how is, like, looking back at it, does it reflect on the future you at the time?
Oh, that's a very good question. So for me, I'll start with the reflecting back kind of thing, because I find myself to be a kind of a unique wrestler in the way that I wrestle. And I had a lot of training. I trained in Vegas. I trained in Pennsylvania. I had a lot of individual training from wrestlers that I met. The main one that I would say helped me the most while I was backyard wrestling was a guy named Chris Frank, who wrestled for Beyond, wrestled a lot of, even though he lived in Pennsylvania, he wrestled for a lot of Northeast places. He, as well as I, have won the Iron Man heavy metalweight title, which is a title from Japan that was touring America at the time. So he and I both got to win that title. Very cool. It literally, he won that championship, and then the match right after was like Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jonathan Gresham or something like that. So like, that's the kind of level he was on at that time. And very, very cool guy. So that guy's probably been the one that's helped me the most, because he lived right down the street from my house. We had a ring set up over there in that area, and he was just showing me moves all the time, showing me, helping me out, learning the craft. I ran into so many people that I didn't realize at the time how important they would be to wrestling or to my career. For example, I was a tag team partner of Sunny Kiss for a hot minute. There's footage of us twerking in a ring together. Like, I still run into Sunny once in a while. Will Ospreay used to watch my matches. Every once in a while, he'll give a like to one of my Stepdad's videos. And I'm like, oh, he's still out there, I love that. Alex Zane from Ring of Honor is somebody I still chat with once in a blue moon. And he's a huge supporter of me and the Stepdads. Like, that's so cool when I see that he's literally on a tour bus in New Japan, and he could be talking to Tomohiro Ishii or some other Japanese legend next to him. No, he's on Facebook, like, liking our Stepdad stuff. Like, that's so mind-blowing to me that we got to do that kind of stuff. And then when we transitioned into the pros, meeting Orange Cassidy and having his seal of approval and how funny we were, and wrestling the Rock and Roll Express, my favorite tag team of all time, the Rock and Roll Express. We got to wrestle them before they went on their retirement tour. And these people saw that I had this kind of different style, per se. You'll see a lot of, like my match with Shamar, for example. I landed directly on my head at the end of that match. I don't know if you'll see another wrestler do that. Things like that are just very unique to having to learn the way we learned in that yard and how we attack the mat, as we like to say. A lot of people fall funny. A lot of people do moves weird until they have that experience. And if you only start training when you're 18, and I'm not recommending just run out to your backyard and fly off the tree or something, but the fact that I was in a wrestling ring, able to, in a legitimate wrestling ring, taking legitimate moves at an early age, allowed me to gain more experience than somebody who just started training at 22, for example, someone like that. And it allowed me to get those extra reps in that they would have to, kind of quickly on their own at that point. So it was good and bad because I got to do all that experience. I got to meet all those amazing people before they blew up and became big names. And then the bad is my back hurts all the time, but it probably would anyway. So it's quite all right. I don't let that kind of stuff bother me when I'm in the middle of the ring. Adrenaline rush. Adrenaline does amazing things. If you ever wonder how could that guy do that thing, how could that woman jump through and go through that thing, like adrenaline. The answer is adrenaline.
Yeah, there is a lot of adrenaline in pro wrestling matches nowadays.
I mean, just ask Cody Rhodes. He's got a ton of it in his soul or whatever he says. So there you go.
Yeah. Also going back on the reflecting back thing. When you first met Wade Kruger and formed the Stepdads, how was your relationship? Did you guys have a relationship before you came up with the Stepdads? What was the relationship between you both?
So before we became the Stepdads, we were already roommates. So we were pretty good friends at that point. We were pretty chum. I had moved out from Las Vegas to the Northeast to get closer to wrestling. There wasn't much wrestling out there. Now there is. Now if you go to Las Vegas, they have Future Superstars of Wrestling and a couple other places that are very good wrestling companies. When I lived out there, nobody cared about wrestling. They did Raw Roulette, if you remember Raw Roulette in the early 2000s. That's about it. Nobody really went to wrestling shows in Las Vegas. So I moved out here to the Northeast. Immediately, I already knew Wade. So immediately we're back at it, being buddies, but just way more often. And even though we wrestled each other more times than I can remember back in that era, we're talking 2013, 2015, 16, somewhere around there. By the time the tag team started, I was already wrestling as a single star. I had already won a tag title with a different partner by that point, which fell apart very quickly. I won't get into that. But we were already roommates. That's why it was so easy. I literally just walked upstairs and said, I got an idea. Let's just do the thing, man. And he was sitting on his chair, he's probably watching Community or something. And he was just like, you know what? Let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. Cause he as starting out as a pro, he was just about to become a pro, he was about 2 months in as a pro. And he's like, I love tag team wrestling. Just like me. I love tag team wrestling. I'm a big tag team wrestling person. Obviously, at GTS, I'm a singles guy. I probably only had 2 tag team matches without Wade ever at GTS, but I absolutely love tag team wrestling. And if Wade is ever able to come back to GTS, that's more of a scheduling thing than anything else. He's just not available. But if he's ever able to come back, man, what a tag team run we would have. I really believe that. And we still get to do that on other independent shows. Across Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We're still out there. We're still doing our thing.
Well, when you first went on to GTS and experienced that type of atmosphere, how was the locker room like when you were first there compared to what it was now?
Boy, that is saying a lot because
you don't have to say too much. You could say.
Don't worry about that. There's no secrets. Everything's an open book with me. But
yeah,
I also really don't have anything bad to say. It's just it's different because when you're in a locker room with wrestlers, you're in a locker room with larger than life personalities. You know, and they don't just turn off whatever you see on screen like the second they walk through the curtain. That's a part of them, you know. So when you're in that locker room, any locker room in pro wrestling, you're gonna get these larger than life people. They want to talk to you. They want to be big and bombastic and tell you the biggest stories in the world. And that's the kind of atmosphere GTS has. That being said, it's an incredibly positive atmosphere. Now, are there hiccups? Sure. I'm sure you've noticed some people come and go, right? Everyone goes, oh, I want to see this guy back. I want to see that guy back. And sometimes it's just they're not available or they're injured or they moved, you know. But once in a while, it's also just they're kind of tired of being in that locker room. So you see people come and go all the time. I feel like the only constant since 2002 when I started was maybe, I don't want to say Grim and Doo-Hop, they're always there. Jungle Jim, but he's also gone now. So it's like, who else is there that was there when I was around that hasn't just come back? You know, Eris Spiral, for example, has come back a few times and left a few times. But I kind of feel like I'm like the last guy. I'm the backbone right now. Before I was there, I feel like Jimmy Controversy was constantly around. Like he was always the guy that was around. So yeah, I guess I kind of took his spot for a little while. But he's back too.
Yes, yeah. With Jimmy Controversy.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, so like it's a lot of fun being in those kind of locker rooms. There's no specific story you could tell. Like, oh yeah, there's this one time. I think it's just a great camaraderie. It's a lot of people that really want to do something fun, and that's like no matter who you think of in wrestling, you go, that guy's a jerk, or that guy he's got a big ego. I guarantee you, when they're in the moment and they're about to wrestle, they're happy. And everyone's happy. Everyone that walks through the curtain is in a great mood when they walk out there, no matter what you think about them backstage. And that's something I really appreciate about GTS is that everyone's there to have a good time. And it doesn't matter what the arguments are or whatever, especially not to me. I don't care. I'm there to have a good time. And I hope that shows off in my matches and in my personality. Most of the time, if you ever see somebody walk in and you're like, whatever happened to that guy? And it was like a one-off appearance, chances are they just probably were like a jerk. And then they were gone. Like, you know, that's about it.
Yeah. Like, with the locker room and how positive it is, let's talk about something like more on the broader spectrum. The pro wrestling industry. I'll say, see, in my opinion, it's like more vast than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
AEW and WWE. WWE is in a new renaissance era. And I feel like people that came back to the company like Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Shawn Spears, all those people have just helped it make it better. And, you know, people, well, there's always, you know, WWE going to AEW and other places like Mercedes Moné and possibly Ricochet now because, you know, Ricochet is possibly written off television. So what do you think the pro wrestling industry how it is right now compared to when you first started, you know, either taking bumps in the backyard scene or the pro wrestling?
So if you had asked me, even in 2015, after I'd already had training and things like that, you know, like, oh, do you see yourself being a pro wrestler wrestling every week or whatever? I would have said absolutely not. I would say absolutely not. No freaking way am I going to deal with the stress and the drama and the vets being jerks and all that kind of stuff. That's why I got professional training and then became a backyard wrestler, because I didn't want to be a part of the drama that was at that time independent wrestling. And we're talking like 2009. I know it was bad before that too for some people. A lot of veterans that I talk to now that grew up in like the early 2000s in the industry, they're like, oh, you're so lucky, kid. And I get that. I get that. You can tell that more people want to help each other. More people want to work together. Even companies want to work together. They're not trying to screw each other over all the time.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of people who are quote unquote rookies. I don't know how long they've been wrestling, but they're considered rookies. And I tell them all the time that you are in the absolute best era for professional wrestling as a professional wrestler. Because you look at one of my favorite eras is territory era. If you were a territory wrestler, you had to move every like 6 months and go to a different part of the country. And there was not a lot of wrestlers out there either. So you were kind of out of luck if you were trying to get in the business. You had to either get beat up by somebody until you got hired or whatever. You knew somebody. It was very hard to become a wrestler back then. And then in the 90s, people were very schemy. It was all money based. Everything was money based back then. Now, money's definitely a factor, but it's also about exposure. It's about quality. A lot of wrestlers joke about hot dog and a handshake. You ever heard that saying? Oh, yeah, hot dog and a handshake, right? That a lot of people joke about that because that was true in the 90s. Like, oh, you have this match, they give you hot dog, they send you on your way. Now it's kind of a joke because everyone does it for passion. And I'm talking about on the independent level. Like, everyone's doing it to get to the next level. Hot dog and handshake is a joke of like, well, you got some food today. But really, the exposure, the footage, the connections you make with these people that you find out later that, oh, they're moving up in the world, in the industry, and then they might bring you along with them. That's the kind of stuff that you build for yourself on the independents. I love that kind of stuff, man. I love wrestling all the time. I love wrestling constantly. I'm wrestling 2 or 3 shows a week usually. With this ankle, it's not so great doing that, but usually I'm wrestling 2 to 3 times a week. And then it's not just for GTS, but GTS is obviously my home right now. And being the champion and representing it is going to be awesome. I'll tell you that. I'll take that belt anywhere. I have no problem defending the GTS YouTube legendary YouTube. I don't want to get that wrong if I'm the champion. Legendary YouTube champion. I'll defend it all over the place. So, and I see it as equal to every other independent promotion out there. But a lot of fans forget, like, yes, we have WWE and we have AEW. I absolutely love that. I love those companies. I'm very happy for the people that work there. Guys like Ricochet, if they feel like they're going to make more money and make more of an impact on their careers going somewhere else, I absolutely am all up for that because, sure, Ricochet will make good money in WWE. But if he goes to AEW and he has his own renaissance, per se, that could be the thing that gets him that extra line every time he goes to a convention during his retirement. People care about that kind of stuff 20 years down the line. Where if he's just some guy that was kind of there, and I'm not saying that's my opinion, but that's some fan's opinion, it's just, if he's just another Virgil or something to people and they don't go and get his autograph, that stinks. But if he has the respect of the fans and the appreciation for his work and his quality of work over a long period of time, they're going to keep coming to him even after his body can no longer do the amazing stuff it does. They're going to go to these conventions and get 8x10s. They're going to put him in the video games as like a legend somewhere and stuff like that. That's more money and that's more quality of your work. If that makes sense. Then don't forget I'll throw them out. There's MLW. People got to remember MLW. There's Wrestling Open. If you've never seen Wrestling Open, that's the place where like guys like MJF really made a name for themselves. Limitless Wrestling. MJF was the champion there when he got hired by AEW. There's a lot of great high-end independent promotions. Northeast Wrestling. If you ever seen that, Jerry Lawler is a regular at Northeast Wrestling. You never know. These random promotions will have this huge name that's just there every month. Yeah. I work for a promotion in Philadelphia that just has the Patriot on like every show or every other show. And you're like, why is WWE superstar the Patriot here? And it's like, oh, he lives down the street. But if you want to see the Patriot for some reason, and some people do for sure, you go to this tiny little indie promotion down the street. And I love that about pro wrestling is that you'll find that it's a big world, but it's also a small world at the same time.
Yeah.
That's so cool, and that's why I hope. I always say people got to get over the tribalism, because the wrestling world is so big, it's so expansive. You get to see all this amazing stuff, and you can't possibly watch all of it.
Yeah.
But it's also very small. We all know who Cody Rhodes is. We all know who MJF is. You know, we all know what a brain buster is. Like, let's enjoy it, guys. Let's enjoy the times.
Yeah, we just watch it for the wrestling. We don't watch because of the controversial stuff that happens either behind the scenes or out of the wrestling industry. We watch for the wrestling.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what I do at GTS is I'm the wrestler on GTS. I'm the wrestling guy. So if you like wrestling, that's why I'm here. But if you like character and stuff, you still got Grim, you still got all these other things going on. And that's the variety that makes wrestling. Oh, I guess we lost Kyle. Oh no.
Don't worry. Don't worry, Rad Dad. I was just plugging my phone, and my phone was.
All right, I thought this became a one-man show. I was going to host and ask myself questions.
Yeah.
I was ready.
No. It's you're the one of the stepdad.
I was going to ask myself how my transmission was doing, and then talk about my car.
Oh no, it's not the internet. It's all good. It's just I needed to put my phone up to the charger, you know what I mean?
No worries. I mean, I got my phone right here. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I know the feeling, believe me. But no, so yeah, I always say it out there. If you think I'm a terrible wrestler, you think I'm the best wrestler, like, enjoy it. Enjoy the wrestling.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Enjoy everyone's wrestling. I don't care. I don't care if I don't like Nia Jax. Okay, then don't watch Nia Jax. But enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. People think that wrestling is. See, here's the thing, Kyle.
Yeah.
Wrestling is a circus. Wrestling came from the circus back in the 1800s, 1850s. I've been researching a lot about 1800s pro wrestling, so it's like in my mind right now.
Wow,
but
we have a common interest now.
I am a wrestling historian. I can't even begin. Yep. I cannot begin to tell you how much of a wrestling historian I am. But wrestling is a circus. It comes from the circus. And what do you get at the circus? You get everything. You get a Ferris wheel. You get animals. You get tricks. You get the bearded lady. And if you're like, oh, I don't like the bearded lady. Well, don't go see the bearded lady, dummy. You're in a circus. Watch, like, the bearded lady's not for you, man. Like, but not everything is going to be just for you. You know?
Yeah.
Very few promotions are everything is one thing. ECW was kind of like that, but even ECW had variety. Every wrestling show is a variety show because they want to get as many fans as possible. So if you don't like something, it's because it's not for you. But if you do like even one thing on every Raw or on every Dynamite or every, I don't know, MLW Fusion or whatever the heck they have now, that's because it's for you. That's the one thing that's for you. And if you like it, then you follow that. You know?
Yeah.
I'm a big comic book guy. I love comic books. And a lot of people will go, oh, I like this Spider-Man book, but I didn't like this one. And okay, well, you can read all the Spider-Man books, or you could just follow your favorite writer or your favorite artist. And you go, oh, I'm going to follow this writer as he goes from superhero to superhero. And that's how that's kind of how you're supposed to do it. You find the guys you like, you find the wrestlers you like, you watch the wrestlers you like. That's the real way to do it. It shouldn't be tribalism, my company versus your company. It should be, here's my favorite wrestlers. What are your favorite wrestlers? Oh, we have a few of the favorite. We have a few of the same. Great. Yeah. That's how we should be thinking wrestling. And I wish more people did. I'll tell you this, all the wrestlers that are backstage, and I'm talking even the guys in WWE and MA.
Oh.
They all ready to screw each other over or say, oh, my company's better than yours. I guarantee you, nobody in AEW is going, screw you, my company's better than yours to a WWE guy. Okay, that's not happening. Not outside of Twitter. I'll at least say that.
Yeah, you were kind of buffering out a little bit when you were talking, but I heard what you said, though.
I'm a little bombastic. My apologies.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, the never say never catchphrase took home. Like people say, like try to doubt that phrase, but there was one single moment that happened that never say never for granted again. And
Mhm.
that when I played over and over and over, that CM Punk return like really close, like is he gonna come? Is he gonna? And I just lost it, like a lot, like millions of people.
Yep.
Everybody in that building was on their feet when CM Punk came back. Like, I thought like the bridges were broken. But water under the bridge now because it's 4 years, about a decade after. So
Mhm.
why have a grudge, It's
Money and
wrestling.
maturity will do wonders for every wrestler and every promotion.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
never say never moments. I'm telling you, like, because I'm a little older than you. I remember The Rock and Hogan facing off at WrestleMania 18. I
Yeah.
watched that live. I wasn't there. I don't mean live, but I watched it live. And to me, that was wow. This is the moment. Goldberg wrestling Brock Lesnar felt like that.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
it's great. I love those kind of things. Now the TNA, what is it?
NXT
NXTNA. Like
and
that's so
NXT.
great. I
Yeah.
love it. I'm a big crossover guy. I love,
Yeah.
especially in Japan, companies are constantly invading or crossing over and doing that kind of stuff. I love it. I think it's
Hmm.
fantastic. I hope we do that way more in America. And AEW does a lot of that. We've seen the NWA Women's Title. We've seen New Japan titles. We've seen there's titles that people came out with. I was like, I don't even know what this belt is, and that's me.
Yeah,
I feel like I know
the
all of
women's
them.
tag titles. Like the
Yeah,
women's tag title people forgot about. They
like
brought
there's
back
there's
a few
there's
years
so
ago.
many, and people talk about AEW having too many belts and stuff. I'm like, you guys aren't even talking about the belts that just kind of pop in and out once in a while. Like,
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah,
Hmm.
they show like Jordan Grace shows off the TNA Knockouts Championship on the Royal Rumble. And the same
Yeah.
with Mickey James when she paired in the Royal Rumble 2 years prior. Like I love the collaboration. It's like more open where they work in other promotions like TNA, GCW, Marigold, Pro Wrestling Noah. I just it's just more relaxed now.
Yeah.
It's not like oh it's all talk. Oh, I hate that company. Open just like I mean opinions to themselves, but don't take it too far beyond your opinion. You know what I mean?
If the companies are working together, then who are you to say one is better than the other? They clearly think that they can benefit from each other. So
Yeah,
that tells you something right there.
yeah. Um, with all the stuff from talking about GTS and the upcoming match with at Clash of the Castle,
Yeah. Clash of
um,
the White
when
Castle.
Clash of the White Castle, sorry. I was trying to, I was trying to hype up for the Clash of the Castle when I
Oh.
with the Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest match in the main event. So, I'm just hyping up for that match. But when in the Clash of the White Castle, when you're facing Grim, before this recent stuff with like Lacey and stuff, what
Mhm.
was your what's your thoughts on with Grim? What's your thoughts on Grim when you first met him backstage, when you had your first tag match, and when you first won your titles and stuff, and all the
So
back?
that's a great story because it goes a little deeper than just a year or two ago. I'd never even heard of
Really?
Grimm until maybe 2018 or so. And
Ah,
that was because a team I wrestled called the Beach Bums, who
ah,
main evented a Grimmomania, I found out a little while later. Um, were like, oh, you stepdads would be great at Grimm's Toy Show, blah, blah. And I'm like, Grimm's Toy Show? What's that? Like, I don't know. Uh, Found out about it. I was asked to come a few times, but before I was asked to come, um, we heard that Grimm was coming to a show that we were at. We were already wrestling for a company that's no longer around. It was called Jersey Premier Championship Wrestling, which
ah,
I think is funny because uh, it was Jersey Premier, so it was Jersey, but it wasn't always in New Jersey. It was Premier, but they had rookies, championship, and they didn't have any belts and wrestling. So I guess that's the one that is okay. But company was weird. But we were there for a couple of their shows during their run. They had about a year and a half run, and they're gonna have Grim on the show, and it was gonna be Grim. I think it was Grim versus Jay Evans versus maybe Hop, or it was a triple threat. And we were there that night. We meet Grim. He gets he gets in. He's got to do his match, so we don't really get to talk to him or anything. But we're next to the curtain. We've already had our match. We wrestled like a 30-minute match that night against a team called the Psycho Drivers. And
that was a creative name.
they were a very cool tag team. Very cool tag team. They were around for a couple of years, and that was the night they debuted in all of wrestling. That was their tag team debut. But we're by the curtain, and we're like, right when the match is over, we're going to talk to this Grim fella and see what's up, and maybe we can work at this warehouse that he has. Like, we're just trying to, we're like, we'll throw our name in there. While we're waiting, two wrestlers go out to the ring and legitimately assault Grim and attack him. So if you've heard of that story, we were 10 to 15 feet away from it as it happened, and we had no idea it was happening because we were, there's no monitor where we were. So this attack happens. They run out, and Grim comes to the back, and he's obviously upset, and rightfully so. He thinks that someone tried to screw him over and tried to hurt him. Needless to say, we did not talk to him. He immediately left. Cops were called. I'd say about half of the audience left. So probably like 60, 70 people left like immediately because they could tell that something was very up. And they were there for Grim. So to see Grim get beaten up and then go on the microphone, he went on the microphone and said like that was not supposed to happen and that kind of stuff. There's footage out there, so you can verify what I'm saying. But I didn't get to meet him. And then when people asked me about it later, I was like, I knew that Grim had like really put down this company and mentioned a few people that work there and stuff. And I'm thinking, well, we're like the tag team there. So he probably thinks we're jerks and he doesn't want to talk to us and forget it. Like we didn't even bother contacting him. Fast forward to 2022, we end up. So I've been friends with a couple of people on the GTS roster over time, and so we get invited to interesting stuff and things like that. We end up going to this beach house that Grim is at, and there's a vlog of it where he's at the beach house with a couple of different GTS wrestlers, and that's where I got to meet Grim for the first time. And I mentioned the story, and he was like, "Oh yeah, well, I don't remember you at all." So it's totally fine. I guess in retrospect we could have asked, but then again, like things worked out pretty well anyway.
Yeah, it was the things were flying all over the place when that happened.
Yes,
speak, Yeah,
and I was
too heated.
Yep, and I was watching from afar. I was watching the same YouTube videos everyone else was, just trying to figure out what happened because I still didn't know that much about GTS and who this guy was.
Both were in the same building when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were right next to the curtain. We were the closest wrestlers to the assault, and we knew the people who did it. And we run into them later, and they were very. One of them was very apologetic. We'll put it that way. Very, very upset that he did that in retrospect because the GTS fans are brutal. When they find you, they're gonna, send you messages and they're gonna say what they feel, and they still do to this day. So there you go. But after doing that, I end up going to this beach house where there's Grim and Tina. Meet him there. He seems to like us. Next thing I know, we're getting mentions on GTS. And if you go back to the summer of 2022, we're not associated with GTS. I'm not associated with GTS. I only met the guy once. And next thing you know, James Gray is calling me out on camera. Grim is mentioning me on camera. And this is months, many months, like 6 months before I debuted. So there's all these like weird hints to something that we didn't know was even had happened. But he mentions stepdads a bunch over the whole summer. Next thing you know, we get the invite, we get a green light, we come in, we get to have that big match. Unfortunately, we lost our first match there. Jungle Jim with his brass knucks took me right out, and that's something that I've brought up many times on camera, that Jungle Jim likes to use those brass knucks back in the day. No, he's not even on the show anymore, so I guess I won out. Haha.
Well,
But
anyway.
right?
Yeah, he didn't get out of the casket yet when
No,
he won that match.
I mean, for all I know, there's a second casket somewhere, and he's just laying in it. I have no idea what happened to him. I always say he needs to go back to his family and be a family man, and maybe he's doing that. Maybe he's hanging out with Innocent Emily, having a kid or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, so yeah, meeting Grimm at that point, he had already become a very different person, because like he had lost weight. He had I guess he had a drinking issue at one point that he's kind of fixed and things like that. A lot of issues in his life that I wasn't there for, so I can't really verify or vouch for. But he's as far as I can tell, he's a much happier person now. He's still kind of sleazy here and there, as you can see on the show. He still does, a little a gray area, especially in his matches. But he was always very good to me when I got there, because even though we have very different aspects of what good pro wrestling is, we've always been able to work them out. And if you might remember, last year we had the Razor Ramon Classic, a fantastic 8-man tournament that I was not only honored to be in, but honored to win. And that was after, maybe 2 months, maybe longer, of Grimm and I just arguing back and forth about what direction GTS should go in. I was very big on honor, and he was very big on ruthless aggression, and that was a big. Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that people love the ruthless aggression, but we had a lot of problems when it came to that, and luckily we were able to work them out. We had that match. I was able to win my second Intercontinental Championship, and he respected that. That's all I ever asked for, That's very different from the Grimm we see now, because I don't remember the last time he's mentioned ruthless aggression. Do you? Because I don't think I don't think what he does is ruthless aggression anymore. I think it's just trying to skate by as champion, because let's face it, he's getting older. He's getting older. He's got a leg injury. You remember against PETA Kid, he freaking collapsed at the live event and stuff like that. Like
40
yeah,
plus minutes in a steel cage. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that doesn't mean that Grimm is worse than he used to be. It means that he's trying to adjust. He's trying to find new ways to win. And I personally think some of the ways that he's doing it, they just don't gel to me. They just don't gel to me. Now, does that mean I hate Grimm? No, I don't hate Grimm. Am I really mad that he messed up my ankle? Yeah. Yeah, I'm mad about that. Does that mean I'm gonna choke him out? No, that's not what I do here. I'm a pro wrestler. Yeah, I'm a pro wrestler. I'm here to win championships, make money for my family. That's what I care about. Grimm, it's so weird, because I feel like Grimm and I want the same thing. We want GTS to be the best it can be. We want the ratings. We want the views. And my thought is just what's happening right now isn't always the best. And I'm just saying, let's try something new. Let's go back in the warehouse days. Everyone was fighting and scrapping and having these great matches. Was there mess ups? Was there screw jobs? Yeah, unfortunately there was. But I don't remember. You tell me. You're the GTS expert. Do you remember people paying each other off back then? You ever see that? You never saw that, right?
There was I think there was a couple stories back in I guess the territory days, maybe 80s. There was they were trying to set something up. I think there was I don't know if you've heard of XPW.
Yeah,
where
I've heard of it.
where they invaded ECW soil. They were having some type of beef back and forth, and they basically had a physical altercation when they were sat in the front row. And I guess they were trying to instigate ECW, But that wasn't like, I don't know if that you would count that as a hit,
Mm,
like, paying somebody off,
that's different. I feel like that's a little different. But I do see what you're saying, and that's I call that playing dirty pool. We try to make money around here. We're trying to run a business, and they're not even trying to make themselves better. They're trying to undercut someone else. And I'm not into that. I'm into making everybody look great. That's why I want to be the champion so much, because I want to make these incredible matches that people are going to talk about for a long, long time. I feel like Pita Kid was doing the same thing. And it's a shame that Pita Kid got injured. He had one of his ribs. I don't know exactly what happened to his ribs, but one of them either cracked or something bad happened to one of his ribs, and now he's out. We don't know how he's going to be when he comes back. He's definitely going to come back, I can tell you that. But is he going to be able to wrestle on that level? I don't know. Even having. Let me ask you this, Kyle. So you're a GTS fan. How do you like having those two championships, the World Championship and the Legendary YouTube Championship? Do you like having both?
Well, it's kind of like, how GTS is not like not just its own show. It used to have like Into the Darkness Championship back
Yeah.
in 2021, but like I think, I don't know if you were watching GTS at that time. I know you weren't not in consistent contact with Grim at that time, but there was like different championships. The World Championship and YouTube Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the same thing with how Roman Reigns was hogging on to those championships, both of them, with just reunited them into one belt later on, and
Yes.
then the quote second place championship. Let me tell you, I like that. It's like, as an aspect, it's like this. It's like deja vu.
I get you. And GTS is meant to reflect wrestling itself. That's the thing that a lot of people go, oh, they're just copying WWE or they're copying AEW. GTS is a reflection of the wrestling industry as it happens in real time. That's the whole point. That's the whole idea. So if you enjoy that idea of this World Championship being maybe not, I don't know, would you claim it to be equal? Would you claim the titles to be equal, or is it more of a stepping stone towards something bigger?
That's hard to say, because
right?
you could say they're like at the same level, but people would, like, the same with the tribalism. People would argue that that's more prestigious than the other, but honestly, it's a world title. It's supposed to be like equally prestige.
That's my belief.
The YouTube Championship.
I agree. I believe they should be equal. Unfortunately, it's not. That's just my opinion. I don't know. GTS kind of recognizes things in different levels, depending on the era. But for me, winning the Legendary YouTube title is the be-all, end-all. That is the top title to me, and I'll tell you why. This is my opinion, because you took 3 championships, and you would remember there's the GTS Championship, the Legendary Championship, the YouTube Wrestling Figures Heavyweight Championship. They unified them all together, and then there was a brand new title in their place.
Yeah.
Some people enjoyed that there was one unified champion. Some people didn't. They wish there was more championships, more opportunities for the other wrestlers.
Yeah.
I totally get that. But as a pro wrestler myself, I want to be the best. I want to be the top guy. And even if there are 2 world titles, like there isn't WWE right now, you could kind of technically say AEW has 2 world titles with the Ring of Honor world title.
Yeah.
And there's always the 2 titles, and they should be equal. But I would say most of history, which one's the real title, like the top title. And for me, on a personal level, that Legendary YouTube title is the top title. And if I can take it, and I would not be against unifying it, or at least holding both against Shamar. Shamar's got 2 wins on me now. If I was able to get that other title while being Legendary YouTube champion, that would actually make my legendary YouTube title more prestigious because it's a fourth title that's unified in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
some fans wouldn't want that, so I'm just throwing it out as an option. But
Yeah. There was a thing that happened in 2022 when we have yet to make your debut.
mhm.
There was this thing where in 2022 where they were unifying all the titles, like the
Yes.
Intercontinental Championship, United States Championship, Intergender Championship,
Mhm.
all those titles together, and that Grey Wolf was holding all of those titles. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do remember that. Yeah. It's pretty much. I
but
remember pretty much like every time that someone won one of the belts, they would unify, and it was kind of still one belt, but it was like, oh, the intergender's in there now, and then the U.S. is in there now, and then eventually he slowly brought stuff back. Like for instance, the hardcore title is back. I thought we'd honestly, honest opinion, thought we'd never see that belt again. I mean, it was literally lit on fire. But people love the hardcore title. I should have been smarter about it because it's bound to come back. And so the titles that were a mainstay in 2016 always end up coming back. Same with the Intercontinental, same with the US. We just happen to have the legendary YouTube instead of the wrestling figures YouTube heavyweight title. But it's the same idea. Top belt, top champion. I've never been the top heavyweight champion in a wrestling company ever. I've been an 8-time tag team champion, Ironman heavy metalweight champion, obviously Intercontinental 3 times. Tried to make that the most prestigious title I could possibly make it. United States title, I feel like I elevated that because I had both at the same time, and it was such a mainstay on the show. It was very important to me to make these titles matter because the people that took over after me, hopefully it elevates them, makes fans care, you know. And it sucks that I lost them, yeah. But Imani Millie's the champion. I hope people look at that and they go, I want to watch Imani Millie. I want to see what this kid's all about. It's a spotlight. It's a spotlight that the future wrestlers of GTS need. And you know, it's another thing that I'm very proud of what I did there, but I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I got back, you know, like Pete. This is no bashing Pete kid, but he hurt his rib. He had to go home. I hurt my ankle. I'm still here. I will fight Grim with no arms and no legs if I have to, because as long as the bell's rung and it hasn't rung a second time, there's a chance I could win. And we've seen, we've seen some of the craziest title changes ever in all of wrestling at GTS. Anything's possible. You know, I could lose 5, 6, 7 times and win the 8th time. Like, there's always a chance. And I want to be the guy who, in his very first shot at the legendary YouTube title, I win it. That's completing the story. That's writing the book. That's whatever way you want to put it. Oh my goodness, that Rad Dad and Rad Lad? Maybe so. Maybe
that
so.
was my co-host when I first started this back 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
The Death Trap, this guy named, my buddy named Marshall, we started 3 years ago interviewing people like Lawrence Spiral and Joe Dice. He was there. He's there to say it. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but
Hey, no,
I
it's all
did.
good.
We both had to interview Grim, and it was like one of the best things in our lives. Well, at least for him. But I gotta say, continuing this interviewing the GTS roster, if it's just the GTS roster, I'm just wrestling in general, pro wrestlers, either my local indie or GTS, this wants me to just motivate myself. That's still a wrestling fan.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I was
Yeah.
the same way when I was younger. I made YouTube videos and I was interviewing people in podcasts and stuff. I was in your position. I really was. And it only fueled the fire for me, man. Like, just watching alone can only do so much. Eventually, you want to be involved. You want to be invested. You want to talk to people. And I was the exact same way, man. The more people you talk to, the more fun you have. That's the great thing about wrestling. You can't do it alone. Nobody can wrestle alone. Nobody can wrestle in front of 0 fans. I mean, pandemic, yeah, but like somebody's watching you at all times when you're wrestling. And that's the whole idea, the interconnectivity, especially at GTS, the 7th largest YouTube wrestling channel of all time in the entire world, in the history of the internet. That's incredible, man. That's wild. And to be even a challenger for the top title representing YouTube, that means the world to me, man. So I hope you'll be watching. I hope everyone that is watching now and will watch will also watch my title match against Grim, because it's going to be crazy. And I'm walking out. You saw that new belt, right? The Winged Eagle version of that YouTube title.
Yeah,
that is, wow, that is incredible, man.
Yeah, that's nostalgia, even for old WWF fans.
Oh, same.
You know?
I'll tell you right now, that's my favorite belt design in all of wrestling. And I love the way this version of it is. And to have that, I'll have it sitting. Actually, I used to have a place where the Intercontinental and US title were on my shelf over here. You can't see on camera, but I have like an area over here. And to have that belt sitting there is going to be incredible. Kids are going to look up and enjoy it every single day. You know what I mean? That's motivation for me to be the best I can and to give people the best matches possible and stuff. And maybe not screwy finishes. Maybe we'll screw around on the show, but forget these screwy finishes, Graham. Come on, man. Like just beat somebody fairly. That's all that's what I'm saying. People think I'm being a stickler for rules. I'm not talking about rules. GTS got no rules. I get it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about these wins and losses. Let's make them count. You know, AEW talked about wins and losses counting. We're going to make them count.
Yeah, the power rankings. Yeah. Like, that's all tribalism, you know, but right all over it. But as with the stuff that's been happening a couple months since Lacey has been introduced to the GTS roster and the GTS fans, what is your honest, down to earth opinion about her management and her being the business manager? You're honest.
So when I started, the man that technically opened the door for me was Cletus back when he was the booker. So I've seen Cletus's booking, I've seen Grimm's booking, I've seen Lacey's booking, and most recently, Tina's booking is the reason I got this title shot. Would Lacey have given me the title shot? I don't know. That's not something I can answer. She didn't give me one before that, and I already held 2 championships. I was a belt hog, as they say. I don't know. I just won 2 belts, man. What do you want from me? Like, take them away if you want, if you can. But Lacey is a wild card. I think you noticed recently on the show, she's a bit of a wild card, and that makes her unpredictable. That makes the show unpredictable. And so unfortunately, I just want to have a wrestling match. And with Lacey around and with Tina around, putting the people they are aside, just the actions they do on the show, very distracting, very involved. You know, everyone likes to talk about how Grim gets involved in everyone's business. Now we got 3 people. We got Tina and Lacey also getting involved in everyone's business. It's a lot of a lot. So
yeah,
sometimes I wish. What's that?
You care about the safety of the wrestlers.
You
care about and you were in the ring and you thought that Lacey was knocked out, and then come to know that Grim came after you with a clothesline, and then as usual duck under, and then like the contact.
I've seen so many wrestlers take power bombs or a really hard slam, and when they land, you think, oh, a wrestler lands on their back. They hit the back of their head as well, and that ricochet can knock you out. And that's a trained, full-time professional wrestler. Lacey is not trained full-time professional wrestler. And so for her to land the way she did, I assume the match was over. Like a UFC fight. You get knocked out, the referee stops the fight. Like, we've seen that in pro wrestling the last couple of years for safety. Wardlow matches, that's the first one that comes to mind, has a lot of knockout finishes. Chris Hero used to knock people out back in the day. So this is for the safety of the wrestlers. You called the match. So I figured the match was over. I went in to check on Lacey, not because we're best friends or anything. It's because I care about the safety of these freaking wrestlers, man. GTS is a very dangerous place if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And that makes the show exciting. It makes it different from every other independent promotion in the world. But at the same time, we have to look out for each other. Think about the cage match I had with Jungle Jim last year. Injured my shoulder. I was in a bad way. I had to take some time off because of that. The entire roster came into the cage and checked on me. Why would I not return the favor? You know, as wrestlers, some of us don't like each other. That's just how wrestling goes. But for the rest of the roster, we have to look out for each other. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to honor and respect and stuff. It's not we're going to be best friends, we're going to play hokey pokey, and we're going to be easy on each other. I want guys like Adam Bizarre to hit me as hard as they possibly can because I'm going to hit them as hard as they possibly can. But that doesn't mean after the match, I don't go, hey, you all right? Everything okay? You need a ride to the hospital? You know, or hey, can you give him a ride?
Sign that the referee does to indicate. He's like, oh, you're okay? Or is like the hand signals or stuff. You know, he does up the X.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys signal to whoever's the cameraman, or at an indie show, it would be like the booker or something. You probably saw his Grimm's match with Emily Saxton, right? He threw up the X.
I believe so.
Yeah, he threw up the X.
The X when he got thrown in the garbage can.
Yeah.
And then when I just say people were suspicious. I'll say that. I'm not saying it was like it was planned, but but it's your opinion.
All I'm saying, I'm not gonna give an opinion. I'm gonna give you a timeline, okay? I checked. There's two things. I checked on Lacey because I thought she was knocked out and I thought she might be injured. And then suddenly, a week or two later, Grimm pretends possibly to be injured in order to one up Emily Saxton. Or is this a coincidence? We don't know. I'm just saying two things happened.
Like when Lacey hit the chair on the back of Emily Saxton after she kidnapped her.
Yeah, that was a lot, huh?
And when he after he got down and left the ring, Grimm just went up and just like, oh, I'm better. That I'll just say, that's my opinion. That's a little suspicious, but
that's the thing. Would Grimm have been able to beat Emily without that incident, if you want to put it that way? Maybe, possibly. But we'll never know. And that's why I wish we didn't have these type of incidents. You know, I would want to see Grimm one-on-one clean, fair fight beat Emily Saxton, or vice versa. We didn't get that. And that stinks. You know, when I wrestled Emily Saxton, there was tons of controversy. I don't want to win matches that way. You know, I want to show people what I got. Imagine at WrestleMania if Cody Rhodes just grabbed a steel chair and hit Roman Reigns 15 times and then pinned him. Would you have thought, wow, what a great champion that Cody Rhodes is. Wow, I'm so glad he's the champion now. Yeah. No, that would have been so deflating.
Perception, yeah. It's the perception, like, oh, you're a bad champion. You play dirty. It's like Drew McIntyre. He takes an opportunity, any opportunity, even though it's dirty.
Exactly. And I think of it this way, like if you're in a last man standing match or something, you got to do what you got to do to get the person down. That's the rules of the match. But there's a difference between that and excessive force in a match that you don't need it. If you didn't have to do it, why are you doing it? That's a personal thing. That's exactly what I'm fighting against. I'm not trying to tell people to not use a weapon in an ODQ match. Do it. It's the rules. What I'm saying is maybe try not to break my ankle outside the ring. You know, that's what I'm getting at. And the sad part is I don't think Grimm needs to do these things in order to be the champion. I think it's all in his head. He couldn't beat Pita Kid. And now look at him. Like he's constantly doing those. He makes fun of Gabe, Gabe Sayers' mother who passed away. Are you kidding me? Like, that's not cool, man.
Normally when you say that, you cancel culture would take notice. I'll say that.
Sure, yeah.
But you know,
I don't even think about that. I just think about respect to another human being.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about. And right now, Grim doesn't have that kind of respect, and he definitely doesn't have a respect for me. He's bringing up my wife. You probably haven't seen her around. She doesn't want to come out here for this interview. All she thinks about is that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
he's been
Respect to
insulting her over and over again. I don't even want her to watch the show right now, unless unless this is all over with. Maybe she'll watch the match where afterwards I go, yeah, I won the title. And she'll feel better. But like, that's not the kind of wrestling I want to be a part of. That's not bell to bell. So I'm trying. That's my whole goal, is to try to fix that. I want to have these great championship matches, and if Grim wants to keep doing what he's doing, he can go ahead doing it with somebody else, but not as the champion. It's time for a new era, man. It's time for something new. We've seen people get run over. We've seen all the crazy clowns. We've seen all that stuff. I'm ready for something new, and that's the whole thing about pro wrestling right now. The WWE Renaissance is exciting because it's new and it's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know who's going to beat Cody Rhodes for the title. We don't know who's even we don't know if Gunther's going to be the guy, or if Randy Orton's going to win for the 15th time or what. We have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have no idea. Yeah, we don't have it.
And that's exciting. So my goal is to have that excitement back at GTS. I want people to think of me and think of my title reign and go, wow, anything, literally, if this guy could win the championship from Grim at Clash of the White Castle, anything can happen at any time. And I tell you right now, I'd be doing open challenges. I say, hey, OGs, GTS OGs, come on back, because it's not Grim's time right now. It's my time. I'm going to give you the time of day to come in. I mean, I would love to wrestle like a Pete Corvus. I would love to wrestle a Tommy Salami. Let's make it happen. Let's get exciting again. So that's what I'm talking about to everybody. I want to be the champ, but I also want the GTS to be as exciting as possible.
Yeah. Then to bring up with the locker room aspect, with the people in the locker room on the roster of GTS, and the people in the locker room on the indie scene when you and Wade were traveling all the Northeast. What are some stories that you could tell from those locker rooms that you want to tell, and to get some inspiration on future wrestlers?
There's so many stories I could tell you about backstage stuff. I'll give you a really good one, and then we can go on from there. But are you familiar with the Rock and Roll Express? Do you know who they are?
Yeah, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. Yeah,
that's right. My favorite tag team, and great tag team in the '80s. Still great now. To be fair,
yeah, still going in the NWA.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we got the opportunity to wrestle them at an event called the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony, and it was the opening of this legitimate Hall of Fame that you can go to in Albany, New York, where they had a wrestling. Obviously, why not have a wrestling show to kick off this Hall of Fame opening? So they rented out a hockey arena in Utica and had this show, and the Stepdads were going to wrestle the Rock and Roll Express in the main event. Very exciting stuff. Very exciting. We have the match. Match goes off great. A couple hundred, I think it was 300-400 fans. Very excited. Great time. After the match, everyone's getting de-geared and stuff, and we're cooling down for the end. And I'm not a super big picture guy. I don't take pictures with everyone I meet, but I do take pictures with wrestlers I've wrestled, because I have that moment and I can tell that story and share that story of wrestling them. So Wade and I are like, hey, let's, before Rock and Roll Express leave, we gotta get a photo with them, man. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So we walk over to Ricky Morton, and we're like, hey, Ricky, do you mind if we get a photo right before you guys leave? And he looks over at Robert, who's across the locker room. And Robert is, he's just in his underwear. He's just in his underwear, hasn't put his pants on yet, right? And he goes, yes, but we got to do it right now. And I'm like, all right. So we rush over. And
in his underwear.
He's still sitting in a chair in his underwear. And so Ricky runs over. He goes, Robert, we're taking a photo. Sit down. Come here, right here. And he's like, no time. Don't get your pants on. Just do it. And so there's this photo of us. and he's sitting down, so you can't see anything embarrassing. But we are laughing so hard in the photo while he's trying to be like not because he's like, oh Jesus, a breeze between my knees right now.
Trying to
And
keep a straight face.
oh yeah, and the fact that they could make fun of each other like that at 62 and 63 years old. I was telling Wade, I'm like, we could be a tag team for another 30 years and keep having fun, man. This is so funny. So even in their 60s, they're pranking each other, trying to literally get photos where they're like pants each other, essentially. That kind of stuff is so much fun. That's the backstage atmosphere that I always think about when I talk about positivity and backstage stuff. A lot of guys doing stuff like that. Not pranks per se, but just joking around. A lot of joking around. Oh yeah. I love that kind of stuff.
Even some of those ribs are jokes.
Oh yeah. Many times in matches, you hear or say things that's so silly. All the time. I mean, I can't even think of half of them, to be honest. But it's constant. One of my favorite things to do is just walk into the locker room and joke around. You know, if you can ease that tension, and you're gonna have a good night. And I'm definitely a tension easer kind of guy.
Yeah.
If you ever see any of those GTS like behind the scenes clips, and you'll see me like joking around with Eris or something, like we're always having a good time. So that's like one of my favorite parts of wrestling, really.
Yeah, I can tell you from a previous guest that we had on the show. Mine was one of the local indie guys in here in the state of Virginia, where his name was Urban Legend, not Urban Legend, but Irvin Legend.
Okay.
He told me about this story where he was in the locker room, where he was, I think, out in his car or in the locker room, but he had him match with Kevin Thorne, and Kevin Thorne played a rib and took one of his boots, and what was it? I think he put it in his car, and I think he locked it off. He locked it up. Oh, whoops! That's my Amazon thing. That's my Amazon. For some reason, sorry. That's my Amazon Echo. That went off. I don't know why. Exactly at 6:20, it just goes off randomly. Like I'm about talking about the weather, you know. But I don't know why. But as I was saying, he basically put the boot in his car and but Urban Legend persevered despite the rib. He went out with one boot.
Oh, there you go.
One boot. He wrestled with one boot on despite the rib.
I would have done the same thing. There was one time where I was a bad guy. I forgot my elbow pads, and I used to wear elbow pads to the ring. I had custom elbow pads, and I went out there, and as I walked out, like 2 seconds after I walked through the curtain, I immediately went, I left my elbow pads out in my gear bag. And I was like in my head, I'm like, oh no. And so I just walk, and the crowd's booing me and everything, and I get into the ring. And nobody knew I was going to do this because obviously nobody knew I forgot my elbow pads. I asked for the microphone, and I got the microphone. I said, hey, hold on. I refuse to wrestle until somebody gets me my elbow pads. and the whole crowd's like, what?
Wow.
And
they played into it. You played into it.
Oh yeah, and one of the ring crew people came up, and I was like, hey, my elbow pads are right on top of my bag. Can you get them for me? And he runs out, and I'm like, I'm not moving an inch until I get my elbow pad, including you across the ring. You stay there. You're going to attack my elbows? My elbows are fragile. They're gentle elbows. You don't know about that. And I'm just talking about my elbows. And I finally got this. Luckily, found him very quickly, brought him back in. Yeah. And I'm putting him on. I put on one. I'm like, I'm just milking it at this point. I'm like, I don't know if this is the right elbow pad. It doesn't fit quite right. And then I got the other one. I'm like, okay, all right. You're lucky. You're lucky this time you got the right elbow pads. All right, I guess I'll wrestle now.
Yeah, you turned that legit thing into kayfabe.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Exactly. That's a huge part of wrestling, man. That's a huge part of wrestling. I guarantee you, no matter what match you've seen, if you any wrestling match you can possibly think of, something happened in that match that none of the participants in the match expected. There's always something happening in every match.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I had a battle royal once where I tried to. I just ran around trying to steal people's shoes. And I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to win this one, so I might as well just go out and annoy people. So I would anybody that was like, battle royals, people like hide in corners or they try to grab the bottom rope and they just lay there forever. I'm not having that. Yeah. So when I got in, I was going into the corner and I'd headlock their feet and go, "Give me that shoe!" And I'd try to take the shoe off. And if I got it, I'd just throw it across the room and go across the ring and go for someone else's shoe, and they have to go get their shoe.
You should you should have put a spot in there and you turn that into an ankle lock and just like, "Give me that shoe."
That's right. There's a. I don't know if you're familiar with IWTV, but there was an IWTV broadcast. Yeah, so there was a live IWTV. It was like their second ever live broadcast or something. They had a battle royal, and in the battle royal, like there's all this cool stuff happening. But the only audio you hear is me yelling, "Give me your shoe! That's my shoe now! Give me that shoe!" And then the other person going, "No, that's my shoe! Give me that back!" Oh man, that was oh man, wow. Who was that? That was. Give me 1 second. I'll remember in a second here. That was Jamie. Oh yeah, that's Jamie Senegal from TNA. Was who I did that to. If you ever seen Jamie Senegal, great wrestler. But
Jamie Senegal, I've heard of her.
I was trying to steal her shoes that day, along with some other people.
I can tell you there was another thing that was improvised that Vince Series told me. Vince Series said he played tic-tac-toe with a guy who's used their back as a tattoo board, as a tic-tac-toe board, and whoever won, the person who lost gets thrown over the top rope.
I mean, I've seen some weird matches like that, like a match where if you touch the ring ropes at all, you're eliminated. So it's like a floor is lava situation, but you try to whip the guy into the ropes, and he purposely like falls flat on his face because he can't hit the ropes. He's got to do something, so he just falls down. That's a match I think would be fun at GTS, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy match stipulations. There is a lot of different like weapons that people use in matches that I can't even conceive even using, because there was Vince Series said they saw a wiffle ball bat used in a match, and he told me it hurt really hard. Yeah. And then when Tarzan Duran, I had him on, and he told me there was this unusual weapon. Get this. A starfish.
That's different. I maybe might beat yours. I know one time, this is in the 2000s, a guy scotch taped a lobster to his wrist and then clotheslined a guy, and the lobster exploded.
What?
So that was a thing.
That's a lot of improvisation.
That was a wild one. I've seen people use swords. I've been DDT'd onto a VCR. That wasn't at GTS, but that's somewhere else. So we were at this company called Truly Independent Wrestling, and Darby Allin was supposed to be on the show, and he was going to have this street fight, and he didn't make his flight. So I had to replace Darby Allin in that match, and I had to do all these wacky hardcore things. I had a bunch of guys with vinyl records, and the vinyl records exploded, and I took a DDT on a VCR, and Wade took a choke slam onto a plastic laundry basket, which you don't think it would hurt, but if it's upside down and you hit it, the little forks go into your skin, and they actually like went through his gear and cut his back up.
Oh
yeah, it was bad. Not like hospital bad, but it was gross.
Yeah. Believe it or not, you bring up a floor is lava. They did that on GTS before, believe it or not.
Okay, good.
they did a floor's lava match. I think it was the ring mat that was lava,
Okay.
or it was the outside that was lava, but I don't remember. But it was so it was so strange and unique
Oh,
about that match.
and
And I think that was like a number contendership or something. That was
makes sense.
something weird and something innovative.
That's the kind of
That
stuff I'd like to see more at GTS. Um, and I used to be involved in a lot of stuff like that. I mean, like it's funny when we have like a Barbie Battle Royal, for example. That was funny, stuff like that. But I do like the innovative match types, even if it's like, for example, Grimm puts people through tables. Has
Yep.
he ever had an Iron Man tables match? I don't know. You tell me.
Iron
But,
Man, no, an Iron Man tables match. No, I don't think
well, there you go.
so.
Like, the most he has to put his opponent through a certain amount of tables in 15 minutes to
Yeah,
win the match or whatever.
yeah.
Like,
There is a match going to be happening on NXT that there's
mhm.
going to be a Singapore cane match
Oh,
involving like Dante Chen. I think that's on wordplay because Sandman used the Singapore cane, and
mhm.
Dante Chen's actually born in Singapore.
Ah, I
So
see.
I guess
Clever.
that's kind of like wordplay type of match,
Yeah.
but otherwise, somewhat is pretty creative, to be honest.
I've been hit with a
Um,
Singapore cane. That sucks. It sucks.
I I I know there's weapons that are quote gimmicked to, like, those tables. Sometimes you go get like really like weak wood to basically break through. And there's some like ladders that are, I've heard that ladders that are not like actual steel ladders that construction workers go up, but
Yeah.
there's gimmick ladders.
Yeah. I
But
think WB is the one that uses some of those. I don't know if other companies do.
yeah,
Maybe.
there's yeah, I'm saying like there's weapons that cannot be gimmicked, like the barbed wire
Yeah.
that in the flaming tables.
Yeah.
That's not gimmick.
No, can't
You
give it
can
flames,
literally
man.
have a Inferno. Ask Edge. Ask
Ugh.
Adam Copeland. That was real. That he actually had burns.
That
Um,
sucks. It
and
really hurts. Jimmy
he,
Controversy
yeah,
got burned last year too on
yeah,
GTS.
yeah.
Ugh.
You, you, you have any stories that you could tell from the people that you met in the locker room in GTS that you want to share?
Stories, their stories.
Or
I mean, well, you did just remind me of Jimmy Controversy getting burned. That was interesting. I've never seen a guy that close to me at literally on fire. That was wild. And I've seen a lot of things. I used to live in Las Vegas. I used to see a lot of crazy things happen to people. But it was, I think it was Cletus that made Jimmy go on fire with like I assume it was a flaming table. I can't quite remember. But stories at GTS. Boy, I really have to think about it. I will say, wrestling is not an easy sport. People getting hurt
yeah,
all the time. So, like, if you ever look at that and go, that guy might be a little hurt. The answer is like 90% of the time they are a little hurt. Even if they're fine the next episode, next show, they probably weren't fine that night. You know what I mean? I see a lot of people getting fixed up and bandaged up and stuff. There was a guy that broke their arm on GTS last year. It was like a stuntman or something that jumped off the top rope. Did you see that clip? It was he did like a springboard and tried to go to a table and he missed and like completely broke his arm. I don't remember his name though. I
Oh,
wasn't there that day.
oh, oh, oh,
It's
I
like
know what you mean.
crazy
Where he
something,
broke
crazy
his
Steve. I don't know, something like that.
crazy,
Crazy Eddie,
crazy Mike, crazy
Crazy
Mike.
Mike. Yes, Crazy Mike. There you
Yeah,
go.
he was a
Yeah, he definitely lived up to
badass.
his name.
Yeah, I know you're not a man of profanity because you only use oh heck yeah, but not
That's
you don't
right.
use profane yet. But you know, Crazy Steve, he's like a guy that you would see on Pro Wrestling Venom. Like, so you
Hmm.
talk about Jimmy Controversy. He came up with Pro Wrestling Venom
Yeah.
and become like a CZW type of wrestling, uncensored type of wrestling. Um,
Pro Wrestling Venom is lucky in that they're not. They're doing it for the passion. They're not really doing it for the money. I'm sure you've noticed Jimmy Controversy doesn't always pay his roster, but at the same time, they don't make the kind of money that GTS makes, and that's because YouTube doesn't allow that kind of monetization for death matches and stuff.
yeah.
But that being said, I give Pro Wrestling Venom a lot of credit because I don't know if you know they're doing a show at the end of the month that has no ring. It's a no ring show,
And,
and it's got a
no
bunch of
reason.
deathmatch guys on it. Yeah, yeah. So you and your fans can look it up. There's a no ring deathmatch show happening
Huh.
with Pro Wrestling Venom. So even though they're not really on GTS anymore, like you don't really see the Pro Wrestling Venom title that much anymore. It's still out there. Jimmy's not in charge. Dirty Ron's in charge, but
Yeah.
now all those guys are still doing their thing. They still want to do deathmatch wrestling, and I heavily respect deathmatch wrestling. I think guys like
Mhm.
Mikey Anarchy are going to be awesome, and they're already doing great in the deathmatch scene. I see it just like we talk about with WWE and AEW. I think all styles of pro wrestling are equal. I think they're all to be respected, and
Yeah.
I don't
Comedy
see,
wrestling, especially.
yeah, I don't see deathmatch wrestling as garbage or anything like that. I think it's all great, and if you're the best at it, that's something to be proud of.
But
Believe it or not, I've had death matches before. Now, am I looking forward to doing one again anytime soon? Probably not. But I've been there. I've had the crimson mask, the blood.
yeah.
I've had the barbed wire wrapped around me and stuff around my arm. Like it's a whole nother world, man. It's a whole nother world to be in the ring
Yeah.
like that in that situation. I don't envy him. I respect him.
Yeah. Kayfabe is a thing that can be like manipulated into real life, but it's not
Hmm.
like the CM Punk Drew thing. Like, but they brought up not by name, but the stuff that he went through with AEW when with the fallout and stuff.
Sure.
And Drew McIntyre is just making a mockery of him every single week, you know? He has to mention him every single week. And that's like like kayfabe, like they can push the boundaries of kayfabe in WWE's case, PG.
And
And
in a lot of
no,
cases, I feel like modern pro wrestling kayfabe is really just a clearer way to explain a story that, and a lot of times is real, is a very real story. It's just a more because real life is messy, man.
yeah,
Some people have different emotions. They change their mind. It's hard to get a clear story. Kayfabe kind of clears that up. It says this is the story. This is a good guy and this is a bad guy of our story. Maybe that'll change, maybe it won't, but they try to make it clear, and that's what I appreciate about kayfabe. It's kind of like when you see a documentary and they have a single vision, and maybe it might not be perfect to real life, but they're trying to clarify it to you, so you at least understand the vision and understand the story being told. That's really what kayfabe is nowadays. Because in a lot of times, if you see two guys that do not like each other,
yeah,
hey, maybe they don't like each other. You know what I mean? And
yeah. But
it's not all an act or some persona that they put on.
yeah, but
If you see Grim say, "I don't like that guy" on one of his vlogs, probably doesn't like
um,
that guy. You know what I mean? And I will say, at least Grim respects me. He was the one that said that he still respects me and my skills, and I will always say that I respect him and his skills. And it's just a different ideal right now, and I don't appreciate what he said about my wife, but there's still
mhm.
respect there.
Like in the past, like when you look at kayfabe, like when what's it? So ECW did a lot of stuff that break the fourth wall, where Paul
Hmm.
Heyman's like, JBL, the reason why you were a champion for a
Yeah.
year because Triple H does not want to work Tuesday, like that type of thing, where
Hmm.
where like sometimes you don't know if it's the kayfabe talking or if it's the actual persona putting on the kayfabe.
Sure.
or just the real person behind like real Paul Heyman, you know?
But that's the fun of pro wrestling, isn't it? You want to
Yeah,
believe, and if they
yeah,
make you believe, then you're going to enjoy the ride. And it's really easy to make you believe if it's real. You know what I mean? I'm not saying wrestlers are great actors, so if you feel it and you feel what they're saying in your heart, probably real.
yeah. You know what I thought of doing when I wanted to get like a WWE replica belt? You know the 24/7 championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 24/7 championship was disbanded in ironically the year that you debuted in GTS, where he was thrown in the garbage can, but they botched that. They
Yeah, they
botched
did.
putting it in the garbage can, and I want to see if I could get a replica belt, replica 24/7 championship, and play off the fact that I found it in my garbage can, and maybe when I go to my local indie show, Virginia Championship Wrestling, a good run by a good man Jerry Stepanitsis. I'm gonna shout out to him and all
Yeah.
those wrestlers that I was on the show. The first man the reason I came, Matt Cardona. But the real thing, I wanted to see and wanted to live stream it and talk the kayfabe, and then like before then I want to try to get one of the people that play a heel and try to like roll me up, and the other friends just count the pin as if they're the referee, and then
Mhm.
they get the title and they run off as like they just belittle me and say you're a mark and you're not fit for this business, like how people say it about Grimm
Oh yeah.
before stepping into GTS. That's what I wanted to do.
Hey,
You
and
know,
that's
I
fun.
I even said something like, was it Logan Easton LaRoe? There's another
Hmm.
indie guy in the East,
Yeah.
where at the end of the show there was a tag match where he took out his wrist tape and threw it in my older brother's direction. And you know what he did? He threw it back and and he won, and he told him like, oh, get in the ring. Like, you know, I really want to just like turn that into something. Like if it's just through jokes or if it's playing off and helping, like feeding to the story and stuff, I would
Mhm.
love it, even if it's not in an in-ring capacity. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Wrestling at its core is all stories, man. You just got to have fun with it. Got to join in the
yeah,
stories.
yeah. Um, there. Now we're gonna have one end off of, and that is the predictions for Clash at the White Castle.
All right.
So the other two matches, Mikey Anarchy, the hardcore champion,
Hmm.
versus Venom White, Gabe Sayers. What are you thinking?
Okay, so do you know the history of Mikey Anarchy and Gabe Sayers?
To be honest, no.
Hey, that's okay. Don't worry.
Uninformed.
So Mikey Anarchy is Gabe Sayers' first wrestling opponent ever. So Gabe was kind of like you, kind of like a lot of people that do podcasts. He was doing a podcast. He did live streaming. He was a gamer, and he called out
Yeah.
Mikey Anarchy online, and they had like beef for a couple of months. Right? They
Ah,
decided to meet up. They had a death match. Mikey beat him, and that was the proof in the pudding, man. Because other deathmatch companies saw that footage and was like, "Hey, we'd like to hire you." And next thing you know, Gabe Sayers is going out to Underground Wrestling Federation, and now he runs a company called the TF Crew. So if you look up the TF Crew, you'll see Mikey Anarchy and a couple of guys like. If you've been watching GTS recently, there's a guy named Doc Holliday on there, who is an old friend of mine from
yep.
over 10 years ago. I wrestled Doc Holliday over 10 years
Wow.
ago in Allentown, PA. But and we
Oh,
haven't
back in the
clashed at GTS yet.
the backyard, like the
Yeah,
backyard
yeah, exactly.
days.
So on the TF Crew shows, I'm going to be debuting there in June 15th. That's this weekend. I'll be debuting there, so I'll be seeing
Wow.
Gabe Sayers and all them. Yeah, yeah. So for them to be having this match, it's probably not going to be mentioned much on GTS, but there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of history there. They know each other like the back of each other's hands. And a lot of the times, Mikey Anarchy has had Gabe's number. Not every time, but a lot of times. I think it's a matter of how extreme this hardcore match is going to be. It's for the most prestigious hardcore title in all of YouTube. You know, take any other YouTube wrestling company. This is the big one. This is right up both their alleys. I think if the match is short, Gabe has a chance because he's got a lot of heart. You saw his match with Grimm, right? He's got a lot of heart, and that's that's already wrestling a match. And then he wrestled Grimm. You know, That's a lot of heart, man. Yep. But if the weapons start coming out and the match is getting a little longer, I think Mikey Anarchy's going to have it. I don't know if it's Gabe Sayers' time yet, man. I don't know if the hardcore title is his title to win. So if I had to pick one today, I think it's Mikey Anarchy. But Gabe Sayers getting that upset that'd be amazing. An amazing upset. So it's possible, but I'm going to go with Mikey Anarchy. He just won the title. He's on fire right now. He's still the Pro Wrestling Venom champion. And I've been in the ring with Mikey Anarchy. It's like fighting a monster.
He's like Nick Gage.
He is like Nick Gage. He's like a Matt Tremont. It's like he is so tough. I was in that ladder match with him at Grim Mania, and he had me. At one point, I didn't realize it. I was tapping out when he was jarring the ladder against my forehead. If this was a normal match, I would have lost. There was a time where I couldn't get up. He could have pinned me. Like there was all these, but there was no rules because it was a ladder match. He could have won in any of these different ways. But thank goodness, because it was a ladder match, I was able to win the match. I was able to survive long enough to get up there and get that ladder. So I think Mikey Anarchy is the future of deathmatch wrestling. I think he's already a huge force in LTW, in TEF Crew, in GTS, all these big companies he's doing right now. I think it's onward and upward for him. Gabe Sayers' time will come. Yeah. Could be in 3 months, could be in a year. But right now, it's Mikey Anarchy's time, and maybe after I win the legendary YouTube title, Grimm and Mikey Anarchy can finally have their match because they've been beefing lately. Have a match for the hardcore title. Maybe they'll do that at Sucker Slam or something like that. I'd like to see that. Well, so my vote is Mikey Anarchy.
Mikey Anarchy. Okay. What about the veteran versus the rookie? E-Money Millie, the United States champion, or Mike Goldstein?
So on the most recent episode of GTS, I was there when Goldstein betrayed Mikey Anarchy in their tag team title match. And I told Mikey to use this as fuel to be motivated, because right now he's the United States champion. He's the top champion in the nation, and he won it from me. So like you gotta elevate yourself to that level and be the man. And we have yet to see Millie. We've yet to see Millie defend the title. He has yet to defend the title. He has yet to be able to prove that he's the champion of the United States. So this is really his big proving ground moment. If he starts to get comfortable because he's the champion, he's going to lose. Mike Goldstein is a former GTS champion. He's a former YouTube champion. He's former Intercontinental champion. He's had every single belt except the United States title.
Yeah.
If he wins it, he'll become a Grand Slam champion. That's a huge accomplishment at GTS. Not everyone gets to do that. So for Goldstein, the motivation's money. For Millie, it's about his future as a wrestler, trying to go up the ladder. I really want Millie to win. But my money has to go to Goldstein just because he has the experience. And it's hard to go against the guy with the most experience. I'm sure you've noticed both my picks are the guys with the most experience.
Mm.
Because if Millie wins, even though he is the champion, it will be an upset. Millie's never defeated, as far as I remember, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know if he's ever defeated a former YouTube Wrestling Figures champion. So if that's the case, he's either going to prove it and elevate that title even further and prove that he can be the man, or Goldstein's going to become a Grand Slam champion. And that's also a huge accomplishment as United States champion to have that title at that level. You know, he's had all the other ones. Now that U.S. title is at the top of the heap. So, I'm going to go with Goldstein on this one. But I want Millie to win. I want the upset. But, you know, I'm being logical. My pick is Goldstein.
Yeah. I agreed with you before you came on. I agreed with you with Mikey Anarchy. But like I said, I wanted Money Millie to, you know, since he's a champion, you know, that's his first, like, he just got the title. You would think he's not gonna lose it that quick, you know? Like,
I would hope not.
But you never know. Never say never. But I'd say Money Millie. But for the GTS fans and the Step fans that are watching this live, and here's a question for you: who do you root on, the main character Grim, or this guy, this one half of the Stepdads, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, the former United States champion, the Workhorse Double Crown, the person that can tell you not to touch the thermostat, and the man that is going to say, oh, heck yeah, to when he wins that GTS legendary YouTube championship at Clash at the White Castle. Rad Dad, I'm honored that you were on this podcast. I'm honored to see you go into Clash of the White Castle for that championship against Grim, and I will eat that up.
It's my pleasure to be on tonight. I'm glad I was able to talk to you and all the Step fans, all the GTS fans that are either rooting for Grim, rooting for me. Either way, I thank them for watching tonight. And I hope at the end of the day, I inspire them. I make them proud. I show that there's great wrestling happening at GTS, and there's a lot of future stars coming up that if I'm able to even just slightly inspire any of them, be the E-Money Millies or the Jack Martins of the future of wrestling, like if I can do that, that's my whole goal. That's all I want to do is inspire those people. And I think the best way to do that is to become the GTS legendary YouTube champion. That's my goal. But either way, thank you all for watching tonight. Now live or in future airings. Please keep watching this guy. I like this guy. I don't want to point your way there. I like this guy. He's gonna.
I tried to point.
I know. I gotta do one of these.
Hold on. Oh, there you go.
Anyway, all right. Anyway, but and I hope you keep interviewing guys at GTS, because the GTS stories are just gonna keep moving on and on and on and on. And maybe when I got the title, the next couple guys you interview in the future, you're like, oh, you want a shot, Rad Dad, and hopefully we can make those happen. You know, just keep it going, keep doing what you're doing, keep it alive. I know you haven't done a podcast in a hot minute with some GTS guests, but I hope you do more sooner and later, and keep having fun with it. GTS, it's supposed to be fun. Pro wrestling's supposed to be fun. So as long as you're having fun, I'm having fun. You know what I'm saying? Right. Heck yeah!
Oh, yeah! You guys at GTS, Clash at the White Castle.